Hey everybody, it's Brian here again. Today we're talking about the Camry XSE for 2025. For 2025, the Camry only has 4 trims. We have the LE, the SE, the XSE, and the XLE. So compared to the XLE's more luxury-esque personality, we're going to work with a car that has a little bit more flair and attitude. Let's begin. If you haven't seen my Camry XLE video, I'll pretend that you haven't seen a new Camry before. Starting with the exterior of the car, the Camry has fully been redesigned, and it has what Toyota coined a hammerhead finish to the head. Now, this kind of must be because the headlights are all the way on the opposite sides. They're not more in the front, they're all the way to the side here, and it has a very sharp nose, like a front flat stubby nose, just like the RAV4 does. So it has a more aggressive look. I like to begin with the headlights on all of my reviews. So on the XSE and XLE, we have these dual LEDs here. I thought they were called quads, but they're called dual LEDs. Even though each LED is split into 2, we have our low beam and our high beam separate. This bar here is going to light up a nice bright white for your running light, and then it's going to be a very bright amber for the turn signal. Of course, it's nice to see some black in the housing here. It gives it that sporty look. And unique to the XSE is the color matching grille on the bottom of the bumper here. This color is the heavy metal gray. It's been a hit ever since it was released. So we have these hexagon inserts and some gloss black over here with a functioning vent allowing air to flow through that bumper. And some side lip accents. I don't know the actual technical word for these. They give it a little bit more going on the sides over here. Coming over to the front, just like I mentioned in the XLE video. Now it's nice to see the car in the rain because you can kind of see how the color changes with the water droplets. But the cuts kind of hide under the water. So we have these channels here that are cut into the head. And like I mentioned in the XLE video, I like how the tip of the headlight has the biggest cut, and then over here we have a more shallow cut that really lines up perfectly with the front of the nose. Mixing a lot of the round and square and triangle designs, bringing everything together in the front. When it first came out, I was a little weird about it, but now that I see it, it works. And instead of doing a big Toyota logo on the front with a plastic covering, Toyota has implemented the radar sensor for Toyota Safety Sense very nicely and discreetly into the grille. Just the right amount of airflow to keep this 4-cylinder and the hybrid powertrain cool. And if you're not familiar with the Camry for 2025, it is all hybrid, which we'll talk about shortly. Here's a nice side profile of the car. That heavy metal looks really nice on a murky, cloudy day. Heavy metal is interesting because it's a darker silver, but a lighter version of magnetic gray. It really does a good job showing the body lines here. I like how we have more dimension here. If you see this triangular shape, it's very dark, and it lightens up over here. The tail end gets very light. Every body line it shows so beautifully with the heavy metal paint. Especially the belt of the car, or the waistline, whatever you want to call this cut with the wheel wells just kind of protruding with the flat stamp on the steel. Beautiful color to show off the body lines. And speaking of body color with the XSE is the gloss black. It's the midnight black metallic painted roof and side mirrors, of course with an integrated turn signal. Really nice to increase the visibility. The black roof just gives it that nice two-tone finish. 19-inch wheels are standard on the Camry XSE. I call these the stars. It's 5 spokes that kind of split off into like a Y or a fork. It's a very dark gray, it might be black, hard to tell right now, with a machine finish, typical of Toyota. With the classic Toyota badge in the center. The tires are going to be definitely more of a road-inspired tire. These are a low-profile tire. Less sidewall than the XLE, and a lot less than the LE. So you're going to get more of a responsive feel, but it's going to be a firmer, sometimes more jarring ride. And speaking of the ride, the suspension on the car is set up for more responsive handling. So if that's what you like, especially if you like to cut up the back roads, this is going to be the car for you. But if you're looking for something a lot more comfortable, I would point you towards the XLE, which is going to be oriented for that type of driving. Let me turn on the lights so we can talk a little bit more about the lighting. So touching back into the front real quick, here are those bright amber swishes, which will be a bright white when it's running. The dual projectors, reserving the bottom one for the high beam. And the premium LED taillights, only accessible to you on the XSE and the XLE, which means it's an LED turn signal here for the amber, which has a smoke accent when it's off, and a full red LED swish at nighttime, which you don't get in the base model. Beautiful lighting on the Camry. And working our way back to the rear end of the car, the taillights are a completely different design. A little bit more going on the bottom of the rear bumper. This is all color matching, by the way, all the way to the bottom. That is all heavy metal with a black insert where it says Camry in big letters, all gloss black. Now on the XLE we get this little protrusion off the trunk, but on the XSE we also get the black lip sitting on the top, just adding a little bit of pizzazz. Here's the new hybrid symbol. I think it's supposed to look like planet Earth with the ozone there. And just a silver badge for XSE. No red like you see on the Corollas. Here's the shady side of the car. See how that heavy metal darkens up? The side skirts pop out on the bottom a little bit more. So like I mentioned, the 2025 Camry is only available in hybrid now. This is the direction that Toyota wants to go. If you're not familiar with hybrids, do check out my link down below called Crash Course Hybrids. But with that said, let's pop the hood and talk about the power plant in the 2025 Camry. Underneath the hood of the 2025 Camry XSE is the A25A FXS 4-cylinder. It's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, giving you 232 net horsepower. It's the all-wheel drive, offering 44 miles per gallon, 43 on the highway, 44 in the city. Now remember, I have down below the link to the Crash Course Hybrids. With the all-wheel drive system, there is no mechanical connection between the front and the back axles. So we have a small electric motor powering the back axles. And then we have the front axles being powered on their own. So there's no differential to service, no drive shaft. It knows what to do. At your lower speeds and while decelerating, the engine's going to turn off all on its own. And it's going to give you great gas mileage for an all-wheel drive sedan. Here's the air intake, so it's very easy to access your air filter if you like to DIY some changes. You can see your brake fluid very easily. Fuse box, which is actually where you would jump start the car as well. And it's easy to check your coolant level. Different coolant system for the engine and the hybrid powertrain. Washer fluid's a cinch to get to. And you can check your oil right at home if you'd like. If you do oil changes at home, it's like any other 4-cylinder. The oil filter's down below. You can add your oil right over here. This one takes 0W8. This is mated to Toyota's eCVT, which definitely check out a video on how the eCVT works. It's not your typical CVT. In fact, many argue it's not even a CVT. It is a very robust transmission, and it's been around for a very long time. This powertrain also does not have 3 of the most wear and tear parts. It does not have an alternator, it does not have a starter, and it does not have drive belts. And in addition, the brakes that the hybrids come with are called regenerative brakes. So while you're braking, they're collecting kinetic energy and sending it right back to the battery to recharge it. So this being a hybrid, it's a fully closed system and it recharges itself. You do not have to plug it in. But that's enough about the powertrain. Let's pop the trunk and talk about the cargo space. Does the battery take up any room? Let's find out. Just between the R and the Y, there's a little square button that you barely have to push, and the trunk comes right up with a dampening system so it doesn't bounce against itself. And inside we're greeted with 15.1 cubic feet of space. Tons of space in the sedan world. And if we look closer over here, the seats do fold down in a 60-40 split. So by pulling on this little knob, I can fold down the 40, or if I pull down on this little knob, I can fold down the 60. I just have to reach inside and give the headrest a push. Underneath, there's a little handle here that I can pull on, and we still get a spare tire with the Camry. It's a temporary donut and some tools. Very nice to see instead of a tire repair kit. And if you were wondering about the hybrid battery taking up space, it does not. You get the same amount of space that you would have got if it was a gas model, because we're working off a very similar frame. We just have more updates to the suspension and the powertrain. So definitely tons of space, big wide opening. Speaking of space, let's jump inside this car and see what it's like being a back passenger in the Camry. But before we get in, let's take a look and see what it looks like. You can see how the seats have a slight recline to them. We have this nice columns or blades or feathers design on the seats. Let's get close. And I don't know if the camera's picking up on it very well, but inside these perforations, which by the way help manage your body temperature and absorb road noise, is a blue color, only on the inside of the perforation, which to the eye is very pleasing because it comes and goes and it kind of disappears and reappears. Very nice. Here's the door card. Hard plastic here. Nice silver swoosh to break up all the black. Soft touch with a very faint blue to the stitching. Very faint. Might be my eyes even playing with me. A simple bottle holder. Some small door sill protectors. The classic Camry floor mats with the little leaves. The typical Camry experience. Very comfortable. Takes a little work because it's new from the factory. But a very nice, comfortable plush armrest. Of course, to be expected, ventilation in the back. With 2 USB plugs. The hooks for the car seats are very easy to get to. All you have to do is pull these little guards off. And it's easy to buckle up one-handed because these buckles never get lost in the cushion. The seats have, I would say, a medium well in firmness. Not quite as soft as the Crown Signia, which is quite the car. But once these break in a little bit, they're going to become a little softer. Out of the box, though, it's comfortable. It's not too firm, but it's not too soft. I do feel supported. Maybe could have been a little bit softer for my liking or a little bit more cushy, but we each have our own different expectations for the comfort when it comes to that stuff. The headrest for the driver is not in my face by any means, and the seat's back pretty far. But at around 5'10", with my feet closer together, I'd say I have about 6 inches like this. If I spread my feet apart, maybe 7 inches or so. I don't feel cramped at all. If somebody was over 6 foot, maybe 6'2", the seat would be back a couple more inches and I'd still have a decent amount of space. The visibility is great, as it always was in the Camry. I don't feel claustrophobic. The C-pillar isn't giant, so I can see all around me, which is nice. That's enough about the back, though. Let's jump into the passenger seat, see what it looks like and feels like. Real quick before we jump in, we have the window sticker. A little hard to see with the rain. MSRP it is about $38.50. This is without two of the packages available, which we will discuss a little more on the inside. Let's jump in. To the door card though, real quick before we hop in. Now we're starting to feel a slightly softer, spongy material here, so we have a foam insert for the door. That perforated material, like on the seats, is on the door card. Very nice for absorbing road noise and just gives it a different look and feel. More of that spongy material here, so it's going to be just enough to support you. And a hard plastic here to be expected. Not a ton of storage in the door, more of a diagonal bottle storage. And an LED courtesy light at nighttime so you can see where you're stepping, so you don't step in any puddles. This is not a piano black, but it's close because you can already see some fingerprints from somebody else who was in here. This is probably going to be a little bit of a scratch magnet, but without going full piano. It adds a little bit of a twist up to the color because we have a lot of dark grays. And of course the silver swish, which hides the door handle very nicely. And a simple, non-painted black lock. The floor mats are floor mats that we've seen for a while now, traditional, with the black emblem, or not emblem, the black letters. I think at the XSE level, so here's my first critique, we could have done a little bit more over here. I think this could have been a little bigger or nicer, maybe with a steel finish, because you know with XSE it's got that racy inspiration. Though standard electronic seats for the passenger, which is nice to see. No lumbar support though. And now we're starting to see more of that side bolstering here, so the seats are definitely going to hug you a little bit more for when you're hitting the turns. And those beautiful blue perforations reveal themselves yet again. But the ventilated seats are not standard. Heated seats are, ventilated we have to upgrade. One other thing I like though is the upholstery on the ceiling here is all black. And it's interesting the way they did the shape here. They're really trying to maximize headroom. Then it looks like we have a panel over here and more raised areas on the sides for headroom, which is nice. Of course, if you get the panoramic moonroof, that's going to open it up even more. All right, let's hop in. So this is the thing with the Camry when the doors open, you really do have to reach and lean and work your obliques to get that door handle. So my only suggestion is, if you're not very comfortable doing that, if you can manage, open the door to the second door stopper position and you don't have to reach as far. Once you go to the third, the very last door stopper position, you're really going to be reaching unless you're super tall. Feels just like a Camry. I want to take a little survey real quick. What do we think about these LED lights? I mean, it looks very cool. It looks very wintry. It looks very crystally. It's pretty. It looks like diamonds. When I push this, it's super bright in my face. And this is not going to look as white in the video as it does in real life, but these are super bright white in my face. I'm a little old school. I know I live in a world where everybody upgrades to the LEDs and they love the bright white lights. But in my vehicle, I have the yellow incandescent lights. And to me, they're very soft and they're very cozy and it's very easy on the eyes. Let's see this one. Super bright white LED. So let me know what you think. Do you prefer the bright white LEDs, or is anybody out there like me and they like the soft of the incandescents? Enough of the lighting tangent. One thing that gets a lot of attention is the retro modern design here on the vent. That plays very nicely and integrates into the screen. It has a very nice drag. It's almost like somebody took a paintbrush and just painted it on. I appreciate that type of design. I actually like the retro modern look. It's not going as retro modern as Honda is, And to me, that very smooth, liquidy look of the chocolatey black that they added on here, it breaks up all the dull, non-shiny dark grays, which are supposed to be black throughout the interior. Of course, we do have some more piano black over here, which Toyota's famous for, putting right by the shifter. Definitely a scratch magnet and a fingerprint magnet, but it breaks it up very nicely. As a passenger, I have tons of visibility. I really have said this many times. I like how the mirror is on the door instead of in the corner, blocking my view. So with the mirror down on the door, I can see through here, which really helps me see all around me. And of course, more importantly, the driver can see more around while they're driving as well. But yeah, my seat is reclined pretty far. Armrest is in a good position on both sides. No matter how I adjust this seat, these armrests are in a great spot. So I suspect for most heights, this is going to work out well. We can see those steel racing pedals hiding in the background, which would have been nice, Toyota, if we put some steel racing style door sills in the XSE, but I'll be quiet about that. Let's jump into the driver's seat where the action happens, talk about how it looks and feels, and take this Camry XSE on a spin. The moment you've been waiting for, getting into the new 2025 Toyota Camry XSE All-wheel drive. Beautiful interior. No door card left behind, everybody. Same exact style as the front and the passenger side. Soft, perforated with the blue. Soft material here, same storage. Would you have preferred a little more storage down, or would this be just another spot for junk? Let me know. Too much junk in the car is not good, right? And the LED. Of course, now we have the lumbar support only 2 ways, not 4, with the XSE. Good enough. Let's hop in. Do the reach. And since it's a hybrid, you may not hear the engine when we start it up, but since it has a key fob, we can just leave that in our pocket. Push the brake, give the button a quick push, and she starts. So we have two 12.3s here. We have a 12.3 here for the infotainment system, standard, and a 12.3 speedo cluster, also standard, which there will be a tutorial on this car. If you're a new watcher and the tutorial has not posted yet, search the XLE tutorial, which is going to be 99% identical to the interior on this car. To me, it's beautiful. The passenger is very tucked in. We have a nice dashboard here that carves. We have a little bit of a wall over here. It just gives you more of a cozy feel instead of a basic 90s dash shifter and done. We have some more almost like airplane. I don't know. I'm getting carried away. I love the Camry. The armrest is just enough. Could be a little bit more, but it's fine with me. The stitching, it really isn't a blue. It's just like a very dark gray. Would the blue have been too much? Let me know, because, you know, famously with Toyota, we get the blue stitching. For the center console, I'd say just a smidge over half of the forearm here, with only a 12-volt plug. Is that a plus or a minus, people? Do we need more USBs, or are the 2 in the back and the 3 in the front enough? I know we need a 12-volt somewhere, because every Toyota owner probably has at least one 12-volt accessory. Am I wrong? Our drive modes are right by the shifter. This was probably a copy and paste from the last gen, and I'm okay with that because the shifter is just the perfect fit for a human hand. And it has that really sturdy feel. It's very easy to use. Nice overhand grip. And the small details here, I'm getting a little carried away, but I do like how the silver swish here matches the silver swish over here, over here. I think those little silver lines do a great job breaking up all the black. And speaking of all the black, something that really sticks out is this strange piano black insert here that they did in the steering wheel. That's going to have thumbprints all over it, and I don't suggest ever driving your car like this. I suggest driving it at the 9 and 3 o'clock positions. And if you choose to drive on the 9 and 3, you'll have a better handle of the car, and equally important, you'll have a better feel of that nice automatic heated steering wheel that changes its level of heat depending on what it thinks you need. So since we're in the car, of course we already know the visibility is great because we're in the Camry and we just talked about that. A couple other things before we go over packages. The auto dimming garage link rear view mirror is standard. We have Safety Connect for 10 years. There's also Remote Connect. There's a bunch of connected services that are coming trial based and then you pay a subscription for, so that's great if you're into that stuff. But there's some equipment missing here that some XSE drivers are going to expect. So let's talk about what those are and how to get them. So out of the factory, we get the 12.3 screen here for the speedo cluster. We get the 12.3 here for the infotainment. We have the heated seats and steering wheel integrated into these beautiful perforated seats. We have the upgraded styling on the exterior and the suspension and wheels. But there's some stuff that we're missing included in 3 different packages available on the XSE. The first package is called the Premium Package, which gives us the 9-speaker JBL premium audio system. So that's going to give you upgraded speakers, upgraded sound quality, and likely a subwoofer, which is not listed on the brochure, but I'm going to make a bet there's a subwoofer in there as well. The ventilated front seats. So integrated into here will be the ventilated front seats. The 10-inch heads-up display. So there'll be a little insert here, and it's going to project some information over here that you can see while driving, kind of like a fighter jet. The digital key capability, and the panoramic glass roof with tilt and slide option. So that's the first package that's available. It's called the Premium Package. The second package upgrades the Premium Package. It's called the Premium Plus Package. So it includes all of the stuff you just heard, but now also adds traffic jam assist. So that's integrated into the Safety Sense, and it's going to modulate the brakes and acceleration and even turning for you when you're in traffic jams, which really reduces the driver stress. Great for the highway warriors and commuters. The front cross traffic alert, which just like rear cross traffic alert that beeps 4 times fast when there's movement behind us, it's going to do it in the front as well. Lane change assist, which is also integrated into the Safety Sense system, which, by the way, this has 3.0, which is the most up-to-date safety system out there, which we'll get into a little more later. So that lane change assist will let you know when it's safe to change lanes and assist you while you're doing that. The panoramic view monitor, which is a 360 camera with a bird's eye view. The front and rear parking assist with automatic braking. So we call that parking sonar sometimes. So it's going to beep faster as you get closer to stuff in the front and back and automatically brake if you're about to hit. The rear cross traffic braking. So not only does it have the rear cross traffic alert, it will brake if you're about to hit one of the moving cars that it senses. And the driver attention monitor, which is going to be a little hump over here with the camera that watches you. So if you're not paying attention or it thinks you're falling asleep or having a medical emergency, in certain conditions, of course, it's going to actually prepare the car to stop and pull over. So that's the most technologically advanced package you can get. The third package is very easy to remember. It's called the panoramic glass moonroof package. So that's going to be the panoramic moonroof on the top. So those are the 3. But just remember, you can skip the panoramic package because if you get one of the other 2, it already has that panoramic roof integrated into it. Let's continue. Like I mentioned before, there are tutorials on these cars, and there will be for this one. But let's just take a peek at the 12.3-inch speedo cluster. So on the steering wheel, of course, going side to side, it'll change what the information shows. The multi-information screen that used to be in the middle is now split into 2, so we have 2 at a time, 1 inside of each gauge. Now, being a hybrid, we can tell the car is on because it says ready on the bottom there in green. And the little EV badge is over there in green, letting us know that the engine is off at this moment. There's lots of stuff going on, so you'll see there's different symbols over here on the top. Those are letting us know different safety systems that are active. Check out the tutorial for all of that. And if I hold OK, I can actually go over here and I can adjust what some of the stuff shows. Now, this 12.3 inch speedo cluster is so involved that I actually have a separate video, a separate tutorial on this screen that's going to be linked down below, so please be sure to check that out. But with that said, I want to take just a moment to thank you if you have come this far already. I really appreciate you watching the video, and if so far you've enjoyed this video, it would be a great big help to me and other people if you gave the video a like and also hit subscribe, because by doing those two things, it will get this type of content out to other Toyota people or people that are curious about Toyotas, and it lets YouTube know that this is beneficial information that should be sent out there. Alright, so continuing with the speedo screen. I can change the style of these gauges, which is nice, which will be in the tutorial as well. But if I hold down OK, I can go over to my settings. And I can even change some of the settings on Toyota Safety Sense and other items that are not a part of Toyota Safety Sense. So what that means to you is you can actually customize all of these safety systems and turn them on or off depending on what you like. With Toyota Safety Sense, of course, if you've never heard of it, there's a camera up here. There's that radar device I mentioned in the front, so the car can see what things are, like bicyclists, motorcyclists, people, cars. It can tell how close they are. So we get features like the lane departure alert, the adaptive cruise control that has different following distances and sensitivities, that lane trace assist that I told you about as well, the pre-collision system with pedestrian detection and cyclist detection. We now have intersection support, part of the 3.0 safety sense. So if you're going through an intersection and it senses cars coming on in the intersection, it's going to beep and alert you and maybe even stop to protect you. We also have safe exit assist. So when we open the door after turning the car off, the blind spot monitor, the little orange light over here, is going to beep and blink to let you know, hey, it senses movement. So you don't open the door and get hit by somebody coming on. And of course, automatic high beams, which are great for the nighttime. Just push the little A and leave these in auto. And at nighttime, the high beams know when to come on and off. It senses oncoming cars and taillights, which is really nice. And for the climate control, that's going to be a little bit more involved in the tutorial, but we have the dual zone here, which is nice. Not integrated into the screen, which is great to see. Let me know if you prefer more of a tactile touch with real buttons for the HVAC system, or if you don't really care. Me personally, I like having my own buttons. The hazards are in a great spot, very easy to see. And they even light up at nighttime, which Toyota make the hazards button light up at nighttime. I love that, very good for safety. When you get connected to Bluetooth here, it has wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. This is the new software system that was updated, so it's made to work a lot faster than the outgoing software. Just give me one moment and I'll show you here. So we have this toolbar here for Toyota, but when we're connected, we'll have another toolbar for Apple CarPlay. Also linked down below is a tutorial for this screen. But there's some really cool things you can change in here, like you can turn the screen off, you can turn it into dark mode. It's very fast responding. It's got daylight savings times built into it. See, I can customize a lot of stuff. Even in vehicle customize, I can control the door lights and the locks to do whatever I want. So you'll definitely like to check that tutorial out. I'm just trying to keep things concise here for you. The backup camera is just a simple basic backup camera, but when you get one of those premium packages, this part of the screen will give you the bird's eye view, which once you have it, you'll never be able to go without it because it's super awesome. But this has the dynamic grid lines, and you can change the style of the lines if you like. You can go more of a peripheral, so you can change the lines. So that's nice there. Once we put the car back in park, the automatic applying electronic parking brake applies itself within a couple seconds, which you can tell is activated no longer by the red light, which would force your eyes to look down. We now tell it's activated only by it saying park up top. So you can see when I put it into driver reverse, it goes away, and then when I put it back into park, the little park light lights right up. Speaking of taking it out of park, let's put it into drive and test out this new XSE all-wheel drive. Talk about the way it feels. All right, let's give it a little bit of juice. Gets up to speed, no problem. Sport mode's real nice. Of course, the eco mode will save us some gas. I'll leave it in normal mode. Very similar to the XLE, this is a quiet ride. I would say the XLE is maybe a little bit quieter. The visibility is great, as you can see. I don't have to tell you how great the visibility is. I feel very planted. The brakes are very confidence-inspiring. And being all-wheel drive, we have those back wheels to kick in when we need them. Let's slow down a little bit. This is definitely one of those cars that feels TNGA. You can tell it has the new frames that Toyota's offering. Very low center of gravity. Very responsive. They handle the turns very nicely. For what this is definitely more responsive than the XLE. It's tighter. Maybe a smidgen more bumpy. Maybe a tiny less quiet. But if you're cutting up those turns, or you really just want a road warrior car, the XSE is definitely for you. It doesn't really understeer too much or oversteer. The steering is just right for me. And even in normal mode, when you give it a little bit more gas, it has no problem getting up to speed. All right, let's get this beautiful car parked and wrap up with some concluding thoughts. So there we have it, everybody. We took a look at the 2025 Toyota Camry XSE all-wheel drive. We started with the outside and then worked our way in and took it for a spin. How's that for a rhyme? So concluding thoughts. I'm very impressed with how they did with this paint color. And even though at first I wasn't a super big fan of the hammerhead design, it's growing on me, and I don't even really mind the color matching grille anymore. I do think the door sill protectors could have been a lot nicer, especially for the money we're spending. And at 38 grand and change MSRP'd, some parking sensors would have been nice. I don't care at all about a moonroof. In fact, I try to stay away from them. But I think if you're spending almost 40 grand, why not just bump it up a couple and get all the goodies? It handles very nicely. In fact, the first time I ever drove this, I was very impressed. But with the way I drive, I might really give that XLE a test drive to compare, because there's nothing like a truly quiet, comfortable car. However, for the more aggressive driver, this is going to be the one for you if you're in the Camry world. With that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. To my regular supporters and subscribers, I love you guys. Thank you so much for all your kind comments and watching my videos. If there's something that I missed in this video that you want me to go over, please do not hesitate to comment down below. That's where I live, and I will see you guys there. This is Brian signing out. Peace.